A very, very good evening. A warm welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, brought to you by Norman Goodfellows. And welcome back to Scotland, as we were on Monday, where the weather is not quite as nice as it was. Monday was generally pretty blue and clear, if cool. Today has been chilly and it has been wet and the wind has been blowing, which has meant for the golfers a proper test in Scottish conditions. And for me, the chance to watch the golf over a glass of mostly the Baroness Nadine Chardonnay from Anthony Rupert a little earlier on today. And up the hospitality, which is such a big part of the Alfred Dunhill Links Championships. It's been a busy week. There is plenty more to come. We've got a wine tasting dinner this evening. One of my guests will tell us more about that a little later on tonight. And he's a guest of some renown. Now, on Monday, my guest was Skulkberger Senior, a Springbok rugby player who now, with his son Tian and support from son Skulk Jr., has the Velbeduct estate, Skulkberger and Sons, which produces some wine that we tasted on Monday, including the Doddy Weir celebratory bubbles in memory of the great Scottish rugby player who died late last year of motor neuron disease. And so we kicked off with an international representative. Well, we've got 4 of them on the show today, led by Captain Chris Groenewald. We have the South African blind tasting team for 2023, and they are going to be in France later this month, heading to Provence to try their hand out against the rest of the world and see just how good they are at the art of blind tasting. And so Chris will be joining me together with teammates Heidi and Cheryl. And we also have with me in our studio at the Old Course Hotel, Gareth Robertson, who heads up the wine team at Anthony Rupert. And what he's going to be doing is giving me a selection of wine that is shown at the event this week. And together with the help of the blind tasting team, I'm going to try and work out what those wines are, but also get some advice that hopefully you can all take to heart as to how to approach the art of blind tasting. It's a daunting space. How on earth do you work out what stuff is? Well, these are 4 of the best, and they'll be giving me some guidance today. So that's coming up very shortly from the Alfred Dunhill Links Championships. Some great South African wine at a great home of Scottish golf, and this combined rather nicely on a cold, wet day like today. Before we get blind tasting though and try the wine, here's a quick look at the latest wine news. So this is coming up tomorrow and Saturday. It really is a special day. The Cape Winemakers Guild auction happens every year. You'll remember just a week or so ago, we had 4 of those winemakers, Barto Extian, Liani Stradum, we had Erica Obermeyer, and we had John Loebscher talking not just about the wines they've provided for the auction, but about just how important the Guild is in terms of the gathering of winemakers and how the support they give each other has such a strong role in our industry, but also how they bring through the next generation of winemakers and how through the Protégé program, they're ensuring that young winemakers are coming into the industry and coming into the industry with great support. If you would like to both be part of that support process, but also the owner of some rather good wine, then the auction is online through Strauss & Co. If you don't happen to be there in person, I'll be watching it online tomorrow afternoon and Saturday through the day from the Lord Charles Hotel in Somerset West. If you haven't yet, head over to Strauss & Co. Get your account set up if you haven't already. And even if you're not bidding, I suspect you will, it's a wonderful event to watch play out. And it is a really important one in our industry. So get that in the diary for tomorrow and for Saturday. Also in the diary, 25th, 26th, 27th of October, it is WineX. Here with Standard Bank, Michael Fridjon and team will be out in force. I think this time next week, I should have a in terms of Dan Really Likes Wine and the WineX adventure. As always, collection of wine from right across South Africa, but it is also a great collection of the winemakers as they showcase some of the best wine they have through the course of that week, I'm sure. So look out for that. Tickets are now on sale through web tickets. Now, this was yesterday. Every year, Alan Lamb, the former England, the wine boys high lad, who fortune and certainly found it, holds a wine lunch. It's a fairly glittering affair. The likes of Surrey and Botham, Lord Botham, Piers Morgan amongst the guests, Gareth Robertson as well. And I was lucky enough to join them yesterday. And I think, I'll see if Gareth agrees with me, but I think this was probably the wine of the day. This is the Tvutpad. As you can see, it's 2015, out of Swartland from Ibn Sadi. There were some very, very impressed wine drinkers who got a taste of this. I had one bottle of the 15 left in my cellar, brought it over with me, and it went down a treat. Lovely to see South Africans shining, and perhaps a sign of what's to come with the golf this week. And then last night, this was also a real treat. So a good friend of mine, the actor Matthew Good, we shared this bottle last night. We're both 1978 vintage. And so that was a 1978 Meerlust Cabernet Sauvignon. You'd never have said it was 45 years old. Mind you, you'd never say I was 45 years old. Just drank gloriously in lovely, lovely condition and worked beautifully. So well done, Meerlust, on producing wine that stands the test of time quite so effortlessly. Right, well, let me welcome in my guest with me in studio, Gareth. The Bear, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well, Dan.
Special week, this, isn't it?
No, it is. It's one of those in the year that you really look forward to. Not the weather here, but yeah, it is special to be amongst a lot of friends that you've made over the years and taste exceptional wines. So.
Now, just before we give you your other title, which is International Wine Taster, and welcoming your guests are going to join us in a second, just give us a sense of this week from a wine perspective. Skulk Berger and I were talking about this on the show on Monday. The opportunity which you very generously extend beyond just the Anthony Rupert wine family to showcase a great selection of South African wine to a really important and influential group of people.
Yeah, it's something that Mr. Rupert started, and to know the amazing celebrities and sportsmen and a whole lot of different people that attend. And it's a great showcase of South African wines that are only served during the whole week. So for us, it's actually it's a great privilege to be there. Showcase. So there's some wines from Erniels, Ristenvrede, Lamott, Ruben Rothschild, ourselves. So yeah, there's definitely some real gems out there to taste. So it's always nice sort of running the program, but it's all credit needs to be given to Mr. Rupert and really starting this initiative. So,
well, you've got some of those wines for me to taste. We're going to be doing that shortly, but we're going to be doing it a little differently. Instead of just drinking them, you're going to be blind tasting them with me. And that is because you are here not just as point man at Rupert Wines, but also as a South African international. You've got your colours, your blazer representing your country.
Yeah, it's a bit surreal to think about that. But yeah, it's an amazing opportunity, and yeah, I've got some great teammates, which I'm looking forward to, and it will definitely be an experience first time for me. So, but thank you.
Well, let's meet those teammates, because I think some of them are now sitting online and waiting to join us. And Chris Groenewald, who I think is the team captain, is with us. So warm welcome to Chris. I think we've got that. There's Heidi. Heidi, lovely welcome to the show. And,
hello.
Cheryl will be joining us soon as well. Hopefully, I know she's always quite busy down the wine bar. But Chris, Heidi, congratulations. Well done on your selection first and foremost. Chris, am I right in saying you are the team captain? That's quite an honour.
I am this year. Yeah, very honoured to be leading the team. Luckily, with these guys chasing with me, the job is going to be quite easy.
It's the chance to go over and represent your country, and it's a really cool opportunity. Also a slightly daunting one, though, because you've not just got the hopes of South Africa on your broad shoulders, but you've also got some other people from around the world who are probably rather good at this. Give us a little bit of detail of what the event is, how it works out, how this blind tasting world championship will play out.
So basically, we're all together in a room, 31 teams, if memory serves, this year. So we're in a big hall in one of the most beautiful chateaus in Provence, tasting 10 wines blind, served from decanters. So we've got no idea what we're tasting. And what we need to do is to identify the variety and then call the region, the country, the vintage, and the producer as well. So quite a daunting task, but one we very much look forward to doing.
I have no doubt. I mean, it sounds super, super exciting. Heidi also in the team, and congratulations to you as well. What does this mean to you, the chance to represent your country and to go and take on the best of the rest of the world?
So, Dan, I'm a veteran. This will be my 4th trip. So it's fun to do it. It's lovely to see everybody. A lot of the teams, you see some of the same people in the teams. And the trip ahead of time is the best bit. We can wine geek out and we visit many wineries. But on the day, it just depends on the wines that you get. And you just have to do your best guesswork. But I always say wine tasting, you're never good at wine tasting, at blind tasting. You sometimes you're also just lucky, but you need to learn all the time, and you make big mistakes as well, but you get some right.
You've been to this now 3 times. This, as you say, is number 4. What have those past experiences been like? What's the nature of the challenge been like?
It's always difficult, but it's wonderful because there's this wonderful camaraderie amongst all the people. You know, everybody is wearing their country colors, and you know, we all like old friends. And it's equally difficult for everybody. So it's a wonderful experience every time, and they give us some fantastic wines. We've had some wonderful wines in the lineup, so it's just always a great privilege to do it.
And you will be joined by, amongst others, Gareth Robertson. Day job is selling wine. This is going to be a slightly different challenge, trying to work out what it all is. How did you guys qualify? What was the process here?
Yeah, so I think there was a series of blind tasting where you got wines in a tube, and you had to say which wines there were or what estates, and you had a list. And then Jean Vincent chose the top 20 tasters in that. And then we went into a final. We got all the same wine. And then we tasted that. And don't know, I think I got lucky on the day. Then obviously Chris and Heidi have a lot of experience. So yeah, so we tasted there, and I got quite a few right, and so qualified in that sense. So it is. I think there's a bit of luck, but there's also some skill. For Heidi to do it 4 times in a row, there's definitely some skill there, and Chris as well. So yeah, I feel like I'm chipping in with the grown-ups here, and it's my debut, but yeah, it's exciting.
Heidi, I'm going to be trying some wine myself in the next little while, trying to work out what it is with the help of you guys, giving me a crash course in blind tasting. But at a very high level, what's the key to getting this right? What's the approach when faced with a wine that, other than the color, you have absolutely no initial idea about?
Well, I think what is very important is that you have to get an initial impression. And you have to really go with your gut feel about that. You can analyze something, but you can overanalyze it, and you can talk yourself out of the right answer. So that first gut feel is very important, and then you need to be very analytical about it. And you look at everything. You look at flavors, you look at structure, you taste the alcohol, the acidity, the tannins, and all of that together will lead you to a couple of possible answers, and then you refine it from there.
And there is a certain amount of wine, I suppose, that you'll immediately pick up. Oh, yes, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly where it is. And there'll be some that you'll have absolutely no clue on. When you're in that secondary space, what can you do to narrow it down, to try and turn a wild guess into a slightly more educated one?
Yeah, you start talking about the possibilities. You talk about, is it a cooler wine? Is it a warmer wine? Does it feel familiar? Is it South African? Does it feel New World? You really go through all those different options. And it often is also what it isn't. It's not that easy to say what it is, but you can say, okay, this is, for instance, a white wine. It's not Chardonnay, it's not Chenin, it's not Sauvignon Blanc. Okay, then what do we have left? And then you start eliminating. But yeah, you look at what you are perceiving and also what you're not perceiving.
Chris, what about you as the captain? You've got to not only lead by example, but you've also got to collate the thoughts of your team. How does the teamwork element come together, and how do you guys combine your talents to best possible effect?
Yeah, I think luckily we've got Jean Vincent as a great coach as well. So he sort of listens to all of our tasting notes and what we think the wine is. And after all four of us have sort of had a chat about what we think the wine is, then we'll have a group discussion. Some wines will be easy and we'll all be on the same page. Sometimes we'll be divided. Sometimes we'll all four be in different spaces. And then it's up to the captain, unfortunately, to make the final call. And luckily, we've got sort of 10 minutes per wine to figure it out. So we've got a bit of time. I need to listen to what everyone says at the end of the day. It's not just about what I think the wine is. We need to come to a group conclusion.
I've tasted wine with people for whom simply working out whether it's red or white is quite a challenge. I think we know some of these people, but I've also tasted with people like yourselves who with one sip can tell me which school the winemaker went to. It's a remarkable talent. For me, it's a superhero talent. Where does yours come from, Chris? How did you find yourself in a space where picking up a glass of wine and working out pretty much what it is was a talent you realized you had?
Just tasting nonstop. I've been fortunate. Before I worked in the wine industry, I made mates with a couple of really good winemakers, Renan Bormann from Boschloff and Lucas from Nochenberg, and they sort of guided me in the early days, and I learned a lot from them. And then from there, I just delved into books and started reading and tasting more. And up to today, every cent that I have goes into money goes into wine to my own detriment as well. But for me, it's just about continuously tasting and learning.
All right. Well, I'm going to try and learn from you and from your teammates today because I've got 4 wines. I think it's 4 wines. Five. Well, right. I'm being put to the test. Yeah. So this is the first of these. I'll come to you for a final thought before I try it. But let me go over to the team veteran and the superstar of Team South Africa. Heidi, I've got a glass. I know it's white. What's my point of departure? What's the first thing I'm doing to try and decipher what's in my glass?
So what I'm looking at is in your glass from here on camera, it looks very pale and it almost looks green. Am I right? What are you seeing?
Yes, that would be right on both counts. Okay. It looks pale unless you hold it next to a Scottish person. Then it looks quite dark.
Please keep it against something truly white. Okay. And what are you smelling, Dan?
It's quite tropical. Very fresh. Okay. Getting the tropical fruit bouquet.
So you're not getting any grass or
not really, no.
Flintiness, none of those.
No, and I'm trying out the corner of my eye to watch Gareth because he knows exactly what this is.
And no oak. You're not picking up any oak.
No, certainly not oak. In fact, I'd be very surprised if there was a tree within 100 kilometers of this vineyard.
So we can eliminate something wooded. So we can eliminate Chardonnay probably. If you talk about tropical fruit, I will immediately go to Chenin Blanc.
Mm-hmm.
So what else have you tasted it? What's the alcohol like?
Oh, well, before I even get to the alcohol, straight away, and there's a firm ridge of acidity that is coming through that. So it's got a spike to it, but not the kind of acidity that's having me dashing out to invest in Rennies. It's the kind of acidity that's giving a nice ridge to the wine and giving it a nice crisp mouthfeel, which combined with the nose, I think would probably guide me more towards a Sauvignon Blanc than a Chenin Blanc.
Okay. So a riper style.
Yes, very much so.
Okay. So can we talk, how about something like Pinot Gris? Could it be Pinot Grigio?
Yes.
Does it have herbal notes?
There is a little herbal touch there that's sneaking through.
Okay, let me ask you this. Does it taste familiar? Does it feel South African to you?
Yes, it certainly does. Although I think I'm pretty safe with that one, given that all the wine's being showcased.
Yeah, okay. You know, so, does it taste cooler or warmer to you?
Well, it's very cold in terms of it's a nice, crisp refrigerated wine.
Like a cool site or a warmer. So
Well,
like a warmer, like a fuller Chenin or fuller sort of
well,
flavors.
The more tropical flavors would suggest to me that maybe is slightly warmer.
Okay.
But I could be
All right.
wildly wrong on that. Yeah.
So what I think is interesting is your gut feel was Sauvignon Blanc. So I think that is something that you should definitely expand further on. When you talk about tropical, are you finding something more like melon or pineapple, or are you talking about guava?
No, I think more the pineapple spectrum, with a touch of green melon, somewhere between the two, I think.
All right, that sounds good. So, okay, so let's then think about it. It could then be Sauvignon Blanc, but not from a cooler area. Maybe not Constantia or Durbanville. How about we look at then either Stellenbosch or Paul or Franschhoek?
I think that one of those three could well be it. I'm getting absolutely nothing given away to me by Mr. Robertson.
The one thing is always to taste the acidity. Now you're thinking about Sauvignon, and is that freshness? You used to drinking. The first thing is familiar. So we sort of in a camp of sort of South Africa. I think that's cheating, but we know that it's South African. But it is sometimes quite tricky because some of the great styles of New Chenin are much more fresher and crisper in a style. But I think going with your gut and seeing the acidity, from the nose, and then you're tasting it, saying, "Well, this is, I think, it's Sauvignon-like," So.
All right. Let me get a thought from our team captain before I make a final call. Chris, you've been watching and listening to this. I've got the guidance there from Heidi. What do you reckon? Am I wildly off track, or do you think I might be heading in the right direction?
No, I think Heidi's done a brilliant job. I was thinking of Sauvignon and Pinot Grigio as well. So I think Sauvignon Blanc could be a really good call there.
All right. Sauvignon Blanc, from perhaps a slightly warmer climate. I'm not sure there's a huge amount of Sauvignon Blanc in Franschhoek. I know there's a little bit, but so maybe a Stellenbosch Sauvignon Blanc. Am I?
But first of all, must I reveal? Or
Tell me what I'm drinking.
Okay, yeah. So Sauvignon Blanc is right. So we tick that box. So well done, guys. And it's from a cooler side. So, but it's not from Stellenbosch, it's from Eland's Kloof. So it's the Cape of Good Hope Ultima Sauvignon, which is quite tricky because it has this long, slow ripening process. So you get this amazing fruit. The acidity is very fresh, but yeah, it is quite tricky sometimes of trying to pick it. But I think when you smell it and then you're thinking Chenin, when I was listening to your notes, and then when you taste it, you were like, this is a lot more sort of Sauvignon focused. So that's pretty good going.
All right. If I was doing this, Heidi, in competition, if I'd said Stellenbosch Sauvignon Blanc instead of Eland's Kloof Sauvignon Blanc, would that still give you some credit, or is that completely wrong?
Oh, no, absolutely. You would get a lot of marks for grape variety. So in this case, you would have gotten 10 marks for Sauvignon Blanc. Then obviously you would have said the country correct, which, Chris can correct me, but I think it's another 3 marks. And if you said the vintage correctly, which I'm sure you would have, then that's a lot of marks. So you might have lost out of 25 marks, you might have lost 5 or so for area. But that's you would have done well. If you get the grape variety, that's the majority of the marks.
All right. Well, I'll take that then as a starting point. Gareth has just slipped away to get my next surprise wine, which I see is on its way. I have a second white wine. So let me head over to Chris. Heidi did a brilliant job getting me to the Sauvignon Blanc with wine number 1. Chris, let's see how good the captain is. Talk me through this one. What should I be looking for? How am I going to decipher this one?
Yeah, again, follow the same process. So start with the color of the wine. Looks a little bit deeper than the first one.
It does indeed. It's got a very lightly golden hue. So yeah, ever so slightly darker than its predecessor. What's that telling me?
Well, that can be a couple of things. It can be aging in oak. It can be just bottle age as well, or purely variety. Grape varieties have different colors as well. So no green at all in the color for you?
There is a very light touch of green. I am seeing a whisper of it.
Okay, that's something to remember. Just keep in the back of your head. Let's go to the nose and give us the aromas.
Straight away, there's definitely some wood on this.
Okay,
That's coming through firmly, not overpoweringly, but firmly. And then, almost. I think what those of you who are the experts often refer to as those secondary and possibly even tertiary. It feels like it's certainly not a fresh vintage. It's not just out of its barrel. How much further, I'll find out, I think, when I taste it. But yeah, it's got that sort of warm, comforting, that kind of Chardonnay on a winter's day nose to it.
Wow. Yeah, some wines are quite easy and you can bank them early on, which is nice. Some you need to think about a bit more. What fruit flavors are you picking up?
This would be more very, very little bit of tropical, but more. I'm trying to nail exactly the fruit. It's certainly not the pineapple space of before. Almost like sort of an orange peel, a nachi peel. That's slightly darker, slightly more pronounced. Not as openly fruity as the Sauvignon Blanc was.
So more towards the citrus spectrum of things.
Yeah, but not sort of a sharp citrus. More the peel than the fruit, if that makes sense.
Okay. Any lemon or lime in there at all?
Possibly a little bit of lime, almost more an apricot actually.
Okay.
It's changing a little bit as I drink it.
Okay.
I drink more again.
Lemon and lime is those two are usually a good marker for Chardonnay. The apricot sort of takes me further left of that then. How's the acid on the wine?
It's nicely balanced. It's definitely there. And then again, I remember having the great Chris Grant on the show talking about acid being the central nervous system of Chardonnay, and how when made well, it just defines the quality of a great Chardonnay. And it's certainly there, and it's impressive. And in fact, this is the kind of glass of wine I could quite easily envisage myself having with a piece of marbled meat, something with a bit of fat to it or a bit of richness, because I think that acid would cut through nicely. But it's not the acid that's lacerating my palate. It really does sit in tremendous balance.
Great stuff. Now, it seems like you've nailed that one then. Probably Chardonnay from either warmer region or a warmer vintage, or really good vintage, something like 2021. But it seems like you've got that one nailed down.
All right. I'm trying to think where I'd go with exactly. We tried Stellenbosch the first time, didn't quite get it right. But I have been drinking some very nice Chardonnay out of Stellenbosch over the last few years. So this is where he tells me it's something completely different. Gareth, let's get a final thought there. Anything else I should have a quick look out for, Heidi? Anything I might have missed?
I like what you've said about the tropical fruit. So that tells me it definitely isn't the coolest of sites. And orange rind is a very typical marker for Chardonnay in France. So what I'm thinking from your description, it almost reminds me of the Rupert and Rothschild Baroness Nadine. So I wonder if it could be that. I'm not sure what the origin of that is, Gareth, but I would assume it's around Paul then.
What do you mean you must check?
You're right.
She nailed it.
Gareth, that's a good start, mate.
Yeah, have you got time to make a substitution?
Yeah. Leave him alone. He's great.
Well, it sounds, he's gone off to get the bottle. It sounds like that is exactly what we're drinking, the Baroness Nadine Chardonnay. And that
Well
is...
done, Heidi. So it's the 22 vintage, and it's Cape Coast. So yeah, I think the fruit comes a bit from Stellenbosch, if I remember correctly, and Elgin.
Okay, so a nice balance between the two.
So that's where you get that something cool. So it is a bit tricky.
When you were talking earlier, Dan, I actually thought, I wonder if it could be Elgin from your descriptions, but then I didn't think the portfolio that you have to at your access would have Elgin. But the reason why I suggested that wine is you were giving a lot of French descriptions, French Chardonnay descriptions, but we knew it was local. And that was the one I thought does taste like that. It's one of the Chardonnays in South Africa that I think is quite French tasting.
So you guys are brilliant. I bet you're basically channeling you like a spirit medium into getting me through the art of wine tasting. All right, so we've got the Sauvignon Blanc and we've managed to nail the Chardonnay. Onto some red wine, if we may, Mr. Robertson. I'm having a great deal of fun with this, guys. Thank you. I'm learning so much as we get through. Straight away. All right, Heidi, let's go back to you for the first of our reds. And I kind of know where you're going to point me. So let me start with a few things that I think you'll be able to spot. Anyway, very pale color. So immediately I'm thinking one of the lighter, more delicate grapes, Pinot Noir, Cinsault, Grenache, something along those lines. So I know it's light. What's now going to narrow down the process?
Well, now you need to try and look at what is the color. Is it more garnet? Is it more ruby? Are you seeing a blue tone? So that color can give you quite an indication. And then, of course, the nose. That's where we start.
So in terms of color, it's roughly the color of an English tourist who's been in Cape Town for summer for about 6 hours.
Okay, ruby, in other words.
Ruby is very good. It definitely has a ruby color to it, and a wonderful clarity. It just looking at it, I can't wait to try it. It looks so inviting. In terms of the nose, it's got almost those macerated cherries, the ones that get thrown onto supermarket Black Forest cakes.
Great.
It's not quite the purity of the cherry. It's got that added kick to it, which so many people do love. Almost the Kirsch-like
yes,
nose, I suppose.
That's a great tasting note. Are you getting strawberries? Are you getting plums? Are you getting raspberries?
To be honest, it's very subtle.
And are you getting any oak on the nose?
Not getting oak on the nose.
Okay.
Possibly a faint, but nothing appreciable when I try it. It's got that between the nose and the mouthfeel, probably the unripe strawberry space. So not the older, juicier, perfect, but still that bit of white at the top of the strawberry.
I like that. So is it quite fresh on your palate? Does it have a freshness?
It does have a freshness.
And you're finding the alcohol to be about medium, not low or not high?
Yeah, definitely. Medium would be a good space. It's also dangerous to drink.
Where would you find acidity?
Acidity, yeah, it's there is similar to the previous two wines. Definitely picking it up. Definitely know it's there, but not to the degree that I can feel the enamel starting to disappear from my teeth.
Okay, and tannins not very strong tannins.
No, barely noticeable if at all.
Okay, so we have to think about what could be basically unwooded. There are not that many unwooded red wines in South Africa. So I like your idea of Pinot Noir, Cinsault, maybe Gamay. Gamay could be an option. I don't think Grenache, because Grenache normally has a savory character. Yeah. And so far you've only spoken about freshness and fruitiness.
Yes.
Are you getting anything that is slightly savory?
See, I've got to work out whether I am or not, or whether you've now planted that thought in my head. I'm finding it.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm very malleable in that particular way. No, I think it really is driven by that sense of unripe red fruit.
Okay.
Which in a fruit salad, not great. In a wine, absolutely smack.
Do you feel it could be Pinot Noir? Is there something that tells you this could be Pinot Noir?
I do feel that this could be Pinot Noir. I think often a lot of the Cinsault and Grenache, I think we can discard Grenache, but the Cinsault is often slightly gentler. This has got just a little bit more structure to it, a little bit more feel, not sort of the broad Robertson shoulders, but maybe the delicate nickel shoulders instead.
So I'm eliminating Gamay Noir because there are not enough of them in South Africa. I'm eliminating Grenache because you're not picking up savory. So we're between Cinsault and Pinot Noir. Now, Cinsault would have a boiled sweet character. They would have something that reminds you of either a jelly bean or a wine gum.
Yeah.
Do you get that or not?
Right. So I think I'm very strongly leaning towards Pinot Noir based on
Pinot Noir. I'm with you on Pinot Noir then.
All right, let's go over to Captain Chris, see if he violently disagrees. Mr. Groenewald, do you think we're in the right space?
No, I think you guys are spot on. Cinsault also wouldn't have the freshness, the acid that you're referring to. Naturally, it's a low acid grape, so I think Pinot Noir would be the right one to go for.
All right, which then has me thinking, Gareth, that this is it Sneeuwkrans? Is that the wine I'm drinking?
No,
I'm not.
No, but I think one thing we must also ask is about vintage. How old do you think the wine is? Is it young, old?
I think it's definitely got a couple of years on it. It's not, again, it's not right out the cellar.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd maybe give it 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
You're just laughing at me, aren't
yes.
you? How horribly wrong have
But I think you got the variety right. So
Okay.
that's a tick point. Now it's just to try and find out if it's Pinot, where would it really come from? So
Well, Hemelanada or Elgin would be my 2 immediate thoughts. Alternatively, there are little pockets of the broader Swartland, which are high enough to have a vineyard or two.
yeah, so I think it's quite a tricky one, but it's the Cirrus Series Plateau. So from right up there. So I think what is a bit tricky, it's a little bit more warmer, a thing there, but still makes some amazing Pinot.
Yeah,
so
definitely. And did I have the vintage right?
21.
21. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Just you added some VAT onto yours, yeah. So.
No, it'll be 3 years and a couple of months. All right. Okay. Well, we are 3 of 5 down. Let's move on to wine number 4 and jump back to Captain Chris. And here straight away, I'm seeing a different color, Chris, because I know that'll be your first question. It is darker. There is that almost ever so slight hint of ochre to the far reaches. So straight away, I'm seeing a wine that is both bigger in style and possibly even ever so slightly older. Where am I going from there, Captain?
Any purple over there? I thought I might have seen a little bit of purple.
That could just be my cheeks shining through.
Okay, so no purple, so that eliminates a few things already. Pinotage, Syrah, they both have quite a bit of purple in the color. So then we can move away from that. So we're looking at a thicker skin variety, something that induces quite a bit of color during fermentation. What are you getting on the nose?
Sure. Very much more of a savory feel. This is one of those moments where I wish I could transform into somebody like Vickers or Jean Vincent, who'd immediately tell me, yes, those are Norwegian tennis balls after 3 sets on a clay court. The kind of things you guys pick up. And you go, actually, that's right, but how on earth did you get there? There is something that's gnawing at me on that savory palate. And I just...
Is it sort of a dried herb savoriness or tarry savouriness?
No, more that sort of sage or that Italian herbs and spices. Yeah, again, the previous wine, it was very much the fruit that took center stage, whereas this one is not inappropriately given. I'm with Gareth, straight out of a tube of Robertson's.
I'm presuming the fruit profile is a bit darker this time around.
Yeah, well, let me give it a taste. Very much so. Yeah, into that kind of plummy kind of space. Almost with a little whisper of stewed fruit, not heavily so. Kind of in that direction. And it's got that feel that the tannins are there, but quite fine tannins, I think.
And it's a tricky one. So
they're all tricky wines. You just got a nice person.
I'm definitely testing my teammates on this one.
Has that herbal quality sort of come through to the palate as well? That sort of dried herb edge that you picked up on the nose.
Very, very much so. Nice swirl, almost that sort of kind of Christmas cake, broader space. Darker fruit, lovely herbal selection. And I'm pretty certain I've had this wine before and not that long ago, because it definitely tastes familiar. So it's probably something he gave me for lunch and he's just laughing.
There we go. Any oak?
There's definitely some wood on this, but it's not smacking me around the mouth.
It's not imparting flavor.
Yeah, I think it's doing what I feel oak should do in a wine, and that's give you a little bit of framework, but still allow the fruit to tell the story. So it's there, but it's much like Gareth on this show, sitting quietly and somewhat smugly in the background.
So I think with what you've given me, final question though, acidity on the wine, is it sort of lifted or pronounced, or is it just in the background?
It's not too pronounced. Kind of as the wine bids you farewell on the back of the palate, it's definitely giving you a little nudge, but just in a quiet hello kind of way, not in a let's strip parts of your tongue off.
So I think judging from what you've said, I can go in sort of two directions. I can go to Italy with something like Sangiovese, or I can go towards the Bordeaux side of things and go Cab or Merlot. That is where I'd go. The dried herb spectrum would be more towards Sangiovese at this point.
All right, let's see what Heidi thinks there. Chris has guided me this far. Any further thoughts, Heidi?
She's computer's died, so she'll be back in 2 seconds.
All right, we'll get Heidi back in a moment.
So get the captain to guide you on this one. He can make the call.
All right. I like your thought of Sangiovese simply because I don't think the fruit quite tells me Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon. Again, it might be an issue of a vintage, but I think from what you've suggested, from what I'm tasting, and through probably about 85% sheer guesswork, that this is nudging me in the direction of some Sangiovese.
Perfect. Gareth, what are we drinking, mate?
So we're drinking the Lamotte Syrah Viognier. For lunch.
In my defense, I had a glass of the Chardonnay and not a glass of the red.
But the thing why it's tricky is it's a 2018. And with the Viognier, it's a much more lighter. So it tricks you in a sense there, and the fruit is a little bit riper.
Okay.
And it's soft, and I think it's a very smart wine. But
I'm certainly enjoying it. Chris, how bad a mistake have I just made? Would I be laughed out of the World Tasting Championships?
No, I think you've just seen how difficult this all really can be. It's never easy tasting wines blind, and most of the time you will be wrong. So I think it's more something to learn out of.
Well, all right. Okay, we've done 4. I think we're okay so far. I'd like to finish on a high note.
Yeah.
We've got one more wine to go. So let me swap glasses with you there. Just as we do that, Chris, just give us a quick reminder of when these championships are, where they are, and what we need to be able to do to support you, to perhaps watch, to cheer you on?
So the competition is taking place on the 14th of October, so Saturday in a week's time, in Provence, in France. I think we kick off proceedings at 9 o'clock in the morning, so bright and early. And yeah, you can follow on YouTube. As far as I know, it will be broadcasted live on YouTube, and the scores are updated after each wine. First time I think that'll be done this year. Normally it was after the fifth or sixth wine. But from this year onwards, it will be sort of updated every single wine, so you can see who's in the lead all the way through.
A couple of quick words from some of the people watching the show. Lisa Harlow's always a wonderful supporter. This is really putting you on the spot, Dad. Blind tasting is difficult. Well, I'm certainly seeing that today. David Fullion himself, a fine winemaker. Well done. Good to have you watching, David. And then Mbali Mata, Mbali, well done, Heidi. Heidi has been brilliant in guiding me through. So too is Chris. Gareth's just been an absolute liability, but it certainly helped me. All right, onto our last wine. I'm not sure. Have we got Heidi back? I think she's.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Heidi, you left me, and without you, I got it horribly wrong. Chris was woeful.
So. From your description, it sounded like Sangiovese to me.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. It turned out that either it was, and Gareth is lying, or what he's claiming he gave me was the 2018 La Motte Syrah Viognier. And that's special Viognier.
That's a tricky wine.
He's not a nice person, really, is he?
He is a nice person.
Can't win them all, Dan.
All right, look, I've got one final wine. So, Heidi, let me kick off with you on our last one. I think we've done okay so far. So if 3,000 or 4,000 people weren't available, I might be jumping on a substitute for the national team. Let's see if I go slightly higher up the rankings here. And straight away, I'm seeing rich. I'm seeing a deep red. I'm seeing winter by a fireplace. I'm seeing the kind of colour that straight away takes me into Bordeaux or environs or the improved version thereof in South Africa.
It looks like it's quite opaque from here. Am I right?
It is indeed.
Okay.
So yeah, very opaque and a very, very deep colour. And then straight away, dark fruit. I often think of them as being those slightly unripe, which I think, especially when the wine is not absolutely fresh, but certainly not that old, and it's still got that deep dark color. You could hide a body in a barrel of this and nobody would know it was there. It's definitely that deep.
Are you picking up any black currants? Are you picking up wood?
Yeah, there is some wood. Tannins are more pronounced, not nastily, but they're certainly letting you know that they are there. We are heading into more black fruit territory. There is some blackberry, some black currant. I remember as a kid picking mulberries illegally from a neighbour's garden, and definitely when you get those ones that are really, really rich, doesn't have that sweetness, but it does have that same sort of sense of reward.
Yes.
Which makes it
that sounds
really,
lovely.
really enjoyable.
Are you feeling Cabernet or are you feeling something else?
No, I don't think Cabernet would be a bad guess here. I certainly drink enough Cabernet Sauvignon, so it is Cabernet. I should get it right, but yeah, it's got that. It's certainly not a massively old Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's old enough that the tannins have settled, and you're not getting that abrasive punch of a Cabernet Sauvignon that's too young.
Are you feeling that there could be a blend? Do you think there could be Merlot in there?
What would tell me that there is Merlot here?
Your comment about mulberries took me to Merlot.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe that could be it. For a straight Cabernet, you would need to have black currants, tea leaves, pencil shavings, that very distinct Cabernet-ishness. Whereas with Merlot, you will find something that's a bit more meaty, almost bloody, And I specifically like the idea of the mulberries. But mulberries could also lead you to something a bit unusual, and that's Malbec. And, we do a lot of Bordeaux style blends in South Africa.
Yeah.
So, you need to give me an indication that you feel that it is a composite of different things, or does it feel like one grape to you?
I think, if I'm honest, I suspect that the mulberry comment is probably more envisaging the color of that mulberry, remembering picking them 20 years ago when I was a mere child, and remembering that vision in terms of the actual flavor. When you mentioned the pencil shavings, the tea leaf, the black currant, that's probably more of this flavor. I'm not getting that meatiness of a Merlot. I don't think I'm almost certain it's not a Cabernet Franc. And having had a fair amount of Malbec, it's certainly not here in any pronounced form as much as I can get it. So I think.
Can we eliminate the Cabernet Franc? No tomato leaf? No greenness? Leaf,
not getting that edge of green. I think, which I was kind of almost hoping it had been, because I know that Bear makes a rather nice Cabernet Franc, of which I've drunk a fair amount, and which he consistently refuses to give me. But I don't think it's that. I think, based on your guidance and helping hand, that it is Cabernet Sauvignon. Of course, if it is Cabernet Sauvignon, it's all down to me. If it's not, then it's entirely your fault, Heidi.
Yeah. Yes, of course. I'm very happy with that arrangement. It sounds like Cabernet Sauvignon to me from what you're describing. Does it taste familiar in the sense of Stellenbosch? Or does it taste cooler or warmer? Could it be a cooler area? Does it have the more, very almost, I want to say, overblown character you'll get in a warmer area?
It's familiar to me from some of the Cabernet Sauvignon I've had off the Helderberg. That
sounds good.
Be my stab in the dark, which we do often in a country with limited electricity. So that would be my guess. Helderberg.
Are you getting a bit of chalkiness? Sorry, Dan. A bit of chalkiness, because that often tells you it's Helderberg, and also a nice, very upfront fruitiness.
Yeah, I think both of those. Again, I'm not sure if you've just planted those thoughts or if they're definitely there. But I would not disagree that those are there. Not in industrial volumes, but I think I could definitely make a case for their presence.
Okay, I think you've got the answer. Helderberg Cabernet Sauvignon. Which vintage?
I'm going to go 18, 19, round about there. I don't think it's too much older than that, but I don't think it could be much younger, simply because the tannins aren't standing out as they might if it was that bit younger. If it is Helderberg, I know other areas Cabernet Sauvignon can be a little bit lighter, a little bit sooner, but it's a space of elegance. And if it is Helderberg, that would be my guess.
Sounds good.
Well, let me check in with Chris. Before I do, I see Angela Lloyd is watching. Angela, fantastic. Thank you. Great show, Dan. As are your descriptions. Go Team South Africa will be watching and cheering you on the 14th of October, as will we all. And Jean-Vincent Ridon, le roi de wine tasting at the moment, our South African sommelier of the year. I'm so proud of our team. They sound so ready to win this year. They just need a driver. No more mentoring. Well, with you at their side, Jean-Vincent, what more could they need? And the South African Wine Tasting Championships, Go Team 2023. So there we are. All right, let me nip over to Chris and our captain. Between Heidi and I, Chris, we think we have a Helderberg Cabernet Sauvignon. Do you think we're in the right part of town?
Yeah, it sounds like a great drop for the current weather you're in. Cab sounds brilliant to me. Helderberg sounds great. Could possibly be Franschhoek as well. But yeah, happy with that call.
All right. Chantal Johansson saying, good luck, Team SA 2023. No, Chantal, say, good luck, Dan, in trying to work out what this wine is. All right. This is where you tell me that I'm actually drinking some Bulgarian Syrah from 1903.
I wish I had that, Dan. But did extremely well with that one. It is a Helderberg cab. So Ernie Els Major Series cab, 2017.
Okay. So 1 year out, but otherwise.
Yeah, it's exactly. It was, I'm tasting it wasn't as clear, but it's a really nice wine.
It really is, and it's also for me, it's another reminder. We all went absolutely bananas about 2015, and it took us a while to realize that actually 2017 was probably in the longer run a better vintage for many people.
Yeah.
And I think this is just starting to come into its own with a long stretch ahead of it.
No, exactly. So we'll be pouring it on Sunday, so don't forget. Hopefully I'll test you again. But so just some of the exceptional wines that we're going to be pouring this week. So well done. Thank you, team.
Well, let's bring our other guests back just for a final word. Guys, first of all, thank you. It's been fascinating, something that I think we must do a little more regularly, because in going through this process, for me, it's not so much about being able to immediately identify the wine, not being a member of the tasting team, but the understanding it gives me and the appreciation of the wine just grows with this sort of method of going through. And I think, Heidi, both you and Chris have been absolutely fantastic in showing me your skill sets and imparting a touch of it and helping me to navigate the minefield that Mr. Robertson set up for me. Or is that a wine field? Either way, guys, thank you. Heidi, on to number 4. What's our best result and what are we looking to come away with? Is this one that Team South Africa is going to thinking, yep, we're going to mirror the Springboks and win in France this year?
So you should have asked Chris that question, because he's aiming for top 5. I'm very skeptical. The best we've ever done was 6, and that was in 2016. Otherwise, we've been around 12 or so most times. I think it's very difficult to aim for something. I love Chris's spirit that we'll try for top 5, but you know what? It just, all we can do for the next 10 days or so is practice, practice, and practice. And then, just get to the right wine on the day, just absolutely eliminate all other possibilities and, choose the logical answer.
Chris, captain, heading for top 5. Are you kind of looking at flashcards? I watched Cool Runnings the other day and was reminded of the nasty East German team and the Swiss team and all the big guns. Are you looking at flashcards of Team France and Team Italy and preparing to take down the favourites?
No, I'm nose deep in the books, just brushing up on all the theoretical knowledge, all the regions, all the grapes. That sort of thing, just preparing as best I can. But no, I think we've got an extremely strong team this year. So yeah, I am aiming high, and hopefully we can make all of you guys proud.
I'm sure you will. Gareth, on your debut, it's exciting, it's nerve-wracking, it's a special opportunity in store.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite excited, and obviously, wanting to try and do our best. It's always sadly for South Africans, it's tough. We don't get exposed to so many international wines as a lot of the other countries, but that's definitely not going to dampen our spirits. I think the guys have, obviously Chris and Heidi have been there, so there's going to be some guidance there. Hopefully, I'm just the impact player, just to guide along there.
You're our bomb squad.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but. I'm looking forward to it. It's obviously always nervous doing these sort of tastings, but sometimes you get them totally wrong, like your Sangiovese today. So
blame the winemaker. All right, guys, to all of you, thank you very much for being part of the show today, for giving me such a cool experience. I've really, really enjoyed it, but also for flying that South African flag as high as I know you will. Best of luck with the trip over to France. Enjoy it. Try not to calculate things in rand rather than euros, and make the most of a really special experience. And I know you're going to have a wonderful time, and we look forward to hearing some great results and to watching it play out online. We'll be firmly behind you and cheering you all on.
Cheers. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, mate.
Thank you so much.
And Gareth, thank you for another wonderful week, another great showcase of South African wine, giving me some fabulous stuff today, but also right through the week. So many occasions we see somebody picking up a glass, being blown away. We've got a new South African wine ambassador on our cards, and that's something you guys do so well. So cheers to you and your hun for a really special addition to this event this week.
Thank you so much, Dan. I just think yesterday that wine, that Footputt 2015 that you showcased, that wine was showing up extremely well, and Evan did a great job there, and you definitely had 2 international guys converted, so yeah, it's a fun week, and and thanks for supporting us and broadcasting the show and supporting South African wine here at the Dunhill,
which we do with pleasure. That wraps us up for this week. Thanks to everybody who has been watching and supporting. Thank you to Jean-Vincent Ridon for doing such a great job in assembling our South African team for the Chasing Championships. We'll keep a close eye on those results and post all the details on our social media platforms. Gareth and I have a wine tasting to go and host this evening, so we are off. I'll see you back on the show on Monday after the Nedbank Cape Winemakers Guild auction. We'll give you some full details next Thursday, but on Monday's show, I'm going to be catching up with one of the great surfers of the wine industry. Has some new releases to his acclaimed portfolio. Miles Mossop joins me on the show next week. Looking forward to that. We're off to brave the rain with glasses of wine in hand. Thanks for joining us. This is the Alfred Dunhill Links Championships, and Dan Really Likes Wine coming to you live from the Old Course Hotel at St Andrews, brought to you by Norman Goodfellows. Enjoy your wine drinking over this weekend. Probably warmer where you are than we are. We'll see you back on Monday. Goodbye.